Hey, what's up everybody? Prospector here with Watcher of Realms. Welcome to the channel. The other day I had made a video testing Lyra and Infernal Blast team, and somebody had called me out for using Torador as a defense down. Here I was thinking that Torador's defense down would help magic damage dealers as well. He was saying that it does not. Well, that's what we're here to test out today, figure out the truth, and maybe even learn something new. Anyways, without further ado, let's dig in. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just bring up these comments quick. I appreciate when people call things out like this. It's a learning process for me as well. You know, it's not like I'm not open to any kind of suggestions or something that I do wrong. I definitely am. I am happy to learn. I want to know as much as possible so I can teach the viewers as much as possible. So if you guys see anything, feel free to call me out. I will respond most likely and go through some testing with you as well. If it's something that you're right about and I feel pretty strongly about, you just prove me wrong. I'm happy to hear it. Anyways, so Gangaz123, he says, why do you have Torador there? You have only magic damage. Seems like a waste of Lord bonus. Someone like Ajax with 4% damage boost could do better. Well, I said because you have to bring Volca, and at 8.5 her damage is very reasonable, plus he brings the defense down. And then somebody else had mentioned Hein YK6 No says, does defense down affect magic damage? And I said, yes, it does. Now here, all I hear is about attack minus defense, and I figured, well, just because a unit is magic damage, I wouldn't think that that would change. I know they have different magic resistances and vulnerabilities and stuff like that, but I assumed still that defense down would help you when it came down to just dealing more damage with a magic damage dealer. And then Gangon says, are you sure about that? It doesn't make sense that we have magic res and defense down. And he says, just did a test, it didn't work. And I said, I will confirm, because obviously, like I said, I'm open to learning. I want to know things, and if I'm wrong about something, I'm happy to hear them. And then I mentioned later on that we've connected on Discord, and you are completely right. Thanks, it's good to know. We'll cover this tomorrow. I'm a little late on covering it, but I'm still getting it done. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is I want to take Nocturne because he seems to be like the most purest magic damage dealer or mage type hero, and it's really easy to test him. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put him right into my hex gear. Let's see here. Gonna be a pretty strong gear, nothing too crazy, but good enough for guild boss. 18.2k attack and 376% crit damage. On the artifact, he's gonna be in a maxed out tier of Twilight. It's gonna help out with his damage. Of course, it's gonna make a difference, but it doesn't really matter as far as the test results. It's gonna be extremely consistent. Now, we are going to have Torador in there, and what I'm going to do is actually I want to keep Laurel in the team. Where'd you go? What I'm going to do is place down Nocturne. I'm going to run a test, and I'm going to activate his ultimate, and as soon as his ultimate is done, I'm going to pick him up the field and end the battle, and then check the damage results. Then I will do it again with Torador, putting that defense down on the guild boss, and see if it actually works or not. So let's get into a playtest here. Okay, so coming into the fight, I am going to go ahead and put down Nocturne right here. I am going to give him a healer, which is going to be an big buff as well. I'm going to put down Laurel, and I'm going to pick her up and activate Nocturne's ult as soon as possible. We're going to just watch the damage go. Now you can see it's hitting right around 274,700 per hit, and it seems to be really consistent. It's not really changing too much. There's a 240, 274. It is what it is. We should get decent results here. Most of them seem to be in the 270 range. Alright, his ult's just about done. Alright, let's stop the fight. We're gonna quit. I'm not really looking at blood because there's gonna be some other tiny tests that we're looking at here. Now, we have 5.9 million. I'm gonna go ahead and open Notepad. And I'm gonna write that down. Nocturne. No defense down. I should put no modifiers. 5,900k. Written down really nicely. Okay, there, I made it a little bit bigger now too. That'll work. Alright, so now we're gonna go in there with the defense down and see if he gets any more damage from that. When the playtest, we're gonna enter, skip the fight. Maybe I'm a doofus for not knowing this, It doesn't really surprise me that I'm sitting here not knowing, but it is what it is. We're gonna go ahead and put down Laurel, pick her up. I'm gonna get down Torador on the field here. He doesn't really need a healer. I don't want to let him mess anything up. As soon as he's ready to go, we'll activate. Put on 2x. As you can see, his damage numbers are about the same. So from my view here right now, it doesn't look like we're going to get any more damage. Maybe a little less. It's going to have a little bit of RNG in there because it is Nocturne. He has a little bit of that RNG. His ult is done. We're going to quit the battle. Check the damage results. Plus he might get a hitter off of 2 extra. And now with defense down, Nocturne with defense down got 5,528. So now you can see here that with the defense down, he actually ended up with a little bit less damage. So obviously defense down is not affecting the damage from magic damage dealers. But what can? This brings me to another really good point of this video and something that I need to share with you guys. Myself, Impacts, and Asms from in the Discord, and it's actually part of our guild and a Discord mod. We decided to go through the whole hero roster list looking for different kind of debuffs for vulnerabilities to magic and physical damage, defense down, magic resistance down. And you know the whole how damage works is attack minus defense, but it looks to me like it's physical attack minus defense versus magic attack minus magic resistance. That is how the equation starts for the formula, and I don't know why I didn't know that, but it also opens up the book for some other really nasty, interesting ideas. So we decided to go through and find all the heroes with all these different debuffs, and I decided to throw together a whole list here. Just so you can find this list right on the Discord, and you can see all the different types of ways of increasing your magic damage, physical damage, or whatever. Now there's 2 different ways of doing extra magic damage. There's magic resistance reduction, and then there's magic vulnerability. And then for physical, we have physical vulnerability, and then we have defense reduction. It's really interesting that these heroes down here have a much higher list, especially when it comes to defense reduction. And then we have magic resistance reduction up here. You have heroes like Abizu doing 50% at A3. I have this all recorded on there. Vierna doing 10% A1 with Mortal Kiss. We have Helga 15% at A3. We have Fallon here with 20%. We have Greed with 15%, and then we have Ajax with a massive 30%. But we even have Anai in here at 15% at A1. So that's even interesting as far as you bring in your Infernal Blast team, increase their damage with taking down the magic resistance. A magic resistance reduction basically works like defense reduction. Magic vulnerability works like physical vulnerability. But they are all different, and you have to keep that in mind when you're building your teams on Guild Boss 1 or Guild Boss 2, that reducing these kinds of things is going to be huge. So when you're bringing an Infernal Blast team with mostly magic damage, maybe Torador isn't the best idea to be bringing along to reduce the Guild Boss's defense. You're going to want to bring a combination of magic resistance reduction and magic vulnerability. Alright, so here we are with Abizu. We have it on the ultimate only, so we're going to have to make sure we get her ult going before Nocturne, hopefully, which should be pretty straightforward. It's going to last for 10 seconds here at the A3. It's going to reduce the magic resistance by 15%, but it should definitely stay on much more consistently. I hope. Now she's built with really fast rage and just has a Nightmare Samsara on her, just to try to get that ult coming back as soon as possible, That's all that we want to happen, is she just goes crazy with that ult. Keep that magic resistance up. Alright. So let's put down the Nocturne. Let's put down the Eloin. I'm going to go ahead and put down Abizu. And I'm going to go ahead and put down Laurel and pick her up. Now I do have to wait a little bit for Abizu to get into her ult before... Let's go ahead and start it now. She's going to ult. She's going to put that magic resistance up there. It looks to be about ready to fall off or something. Not very consistent either. So you can see it's It's really hard to get a nice consistent magic res down for the magic team. When you want your magic heroes are really struggling here to get themselves a nice magic resistance reduction. When it comes to defense down, it's easy. You just have like somebody like a Estrid or you have a Torador, and they do it like every single hit. All right, so let's see what the damage numbers difference here is. 6.5 million, not crazy. Again, it just went. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this over here. We have Nocturne with negative 15 M res reduction at 6,530k. You can see the damage did definitely go up. Nothing too crazy. And there is also a little bit of RNG in there. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and go in there right with my Anai. My Anai is Awakened level 1. And if you remember the list here, Anai does 15% at A1. So we can use her as long as there's burning up on the target from Anai. She's going to go ahead and put that magic resistance up there of 15%. So whenever they're burning, they also receive the 15% magic resistance. Might be a little more consistent for the testing here, and we'll see what happens. Now, I just flipped out Abizo's gear into Anai, because she's kind of the same thing. You want to build her really fast to keep those burns up, and keep that magic resistance high. Or magic resistance, chance of magic resistance to be on there being really high. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put down Nocturne, put down Eloin, we're going to put down Anai, Hollow, and then I'm going to go ahead and pick her up. And then you can see that magic resistance just staying up there much more consistently. It's up there almost all the time. So now we're just going to have to wait until Nocturne gets done with his ultimate. And we will be ready to go here. Yeah, that's like 100% uptime. Perfect. Hey, it fell off. There you go. Alright. Stop the fight. That was a full round of his ult with a negative 15% magic res debuff. Let's see what his damage is. 6.1 million. Not much of a difference. So there's a little bit of RNG in there, like I said before. But how can we increase this even further? So now we've only been talking about magic resistance reduction so far. We also have magic vulnerabilities. Now there is a whole bunch of heroes here that can do awesome magic vulnerabilities, including Kriya with 30% at A3. There's Celine, 30% when bonded. Alistair does a really good job at A3 for 20%. Aeon does 20%. Mari does 20%. Volca does 20%. So the easiest one to bring in here is going to be Mari. Of course, if you really wanted to maximize this damage, you would go with Celine or an A3 Kriya, or even Yanguar at A1, or even Twin Fiend, Soul Cadence, Pyros. Those guys are all going to do a really good job with this. Alright, so back into it. I want to go ahead, I'm just going to grab Mari. Mari's going to be the one that we're going to throw on the field here and see how much she increases the magic damage. Here comes Mari. It's going to be, she does put up a physical damage vulnerability and a magic damage vulnerability, but we already know that obviously the physical magic damage vulnerability isn't going to make any of a difference here. Alright, so let's go ahead and get Mari on the field. Need to make sure that she is within some kind of crazy range of Nocturne as well, and Eloins to make sure she's healing. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put Nocturne here. We're going to put Eloin down right here. We're going to put Mari up here. We're going to put Anai over here. Then I'm going to go ahead and put down Laurel and pick her up. Everybody should be getting close to the ult. As long as burns stay up, I have to activate Nocturne anyways. Even though, obviously, Miss Anai is not getting her burns out. But we do now have negative 15 magic resistance, magic damage taken plus 20%, and physical damage taken plus 20%. So whatever you hit, you just basically take that. You're going to add a 20% onto the end of the formula here. Now, as soon as Nocturne's done, I will go ahead and end the fight. Remember, with Mari, you just want her to be fast. You don't want to use her ult against the guild boss. Put it on 2x to get it going. Alright, he's done. Let's pull him off the field. Let's see here. Damage results, 6.8 million. Now, Nocturne with negative 15 magic res, and 20% magic vulnerability. It's going to be 6,819k. And as I said, there is a little bit of RNG kind of built into this. It's not so simple where, because Nocturne has some really crazy stuff built into his kit too, where his damage multipliers change based on a little bit of RNG. That's all I can say about it. This isn't the end of the story though. It keeps going. It keeps going. Now we could pull off Mari, because now I'm going to bring in somebody else. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Mr. Pyros. Let's check out his kit here. Now, Delusional Gaze. He's going to bring that physical and magic damage vulnerability on targets marked with Destruction Command. Destruction Command is his ultimate here, which if you didn't know, he has this focus fire effect where he builds up all the damage coming from the heroes around him, and then he hits them with a 700% damage based on all of their power, basically. When activated, increases damage by 100% for 15 seconds and marks one target. So he's going to mark the target, which means he's going to get that vulnerability that you need. And he also has the ability to do the focus fire attack, but he also has, with his Lord skill, all faction team members gain a penetration increase for 10 seconds. There's only 3 heroes in the game that will do this magic penetration buff, if you would say, for the heroes that are with him, and that is Pyros, Soul Cadence, Twin Fiend. There's a penetration increase, ignores 30% of defense and magic resistance, and this is a buff to his team members. So it looks like Nocturne does need to go under him as a Lord, and you will see how massive of a difference this is going to make. So our baseline testing here was 5,900k with no modifiers. Defense down didn't make any difference, it's actually worse. With negative 15 magic resistance, went up by about 600k, which makes sense. It's a short part of the fight, it's only one ult. And then with magic resistance and 20% vulnerability, we went up to 68. So we went from, or up a full million damage from no modifiers. Let's see what can happen when you put down Pyros on the field. Make sure that he has some gear on him first. He just needs a rage regen piece here. All right, that'll work. He is wearing a Nightmare Samsara, ready to go. I'm really curious to see what I can do with Hex now, knowing how this works, but let's just do this test here and get it over with. Put down Nocturne, and put down Eloin this way. We're gonna go ahead and put down Pyros. I wanna get Anai in there as well. And we're gonna go ahead and put down Laurel. I'm gonna pick her up, and then as soon as everybody's ready to ult, I am going to activate Nocturne and then Pyros. Well, Pyros and then Nocturne. And now, even though that we need to keep in mind that Pyros is locking these guys out or using their skills temporarily. So that's something you need to keep in mind. So he's not attacking, he's not doing any damage. We're at 84. All of a sudden we're up to 200k blood. And now here comes big damage here. As you can see, we have magic resistance reduction, physical damage, and magic damage vulnerabilities. And also the faction here, or the target is marked here, and Nocturne now has penetration increase as well. So let's see what he does at the end of this fight. Even with being locked out for part of his ult, I want to see what his damage numbers are. Okay, let's pull him up. Now you can see the blood is going up, but Anai's in there doing burns, and Pyros is in there doing big hits. Well, what is Nocturne doing? 7.2 million damage. Let's go ahead and mark that. Nocturne with negative 15 MRes and 20% magic vulnerability and 30% penetration increase. It's a lot of stuff going on there. Is 7,200,000. There you go, 7,200k. So you can see the damage definitely goes up. 5,900k all the way up to 7,200k, and that's within one ult. You have to keep in mind, throughout a whole fight, this is going to make a huge difference. There's lots of ways to increase this damage. Now, when it comes to Physical damage dealers here, you only have the defense reduction and the physical vulnerability, but there is a lot more options and they are much more consistent. When it comes to the Infernal Blast teams, you have a huge increase in damage because you have Pyro, Soul Cadence, and Twin Fiend all working together with their faction to increase their magic damage. So when it comes to Infernal magic damage dealers on single target units, they are going to have the highest advantage as far as putting debuffs up, increasing their damage. I'm very sorry, this video is probably really confusing. I'm having a really hard time even keeping track of what I'm all trying to say here. And I do need to point out a couple of side mentions, which you might have seen down at the bottom of the screen here. As Theowen, his exclusive inflicts 10% magic and physical damage vulnerabilities. So if you do pick it up, you can use that as an option. Magda does a penetration increase 15% of surrounding allies. So heroes surrounding Magda she's gonna give them a penetration increase as well. Then Infernal Lords, obviously we talked about that, they do the magic resistance penetration. And with that, yes, Gang Oz and Hein, you guys were definitely correct. The defense down does not affect magic resistance, but there is many other options. And it kind of led me down this huge deep dive hole of trying to figure out of all the different ways of increasing your magic damage and optimizing the hero's damage over an overall fight. But anyways, guys, that's all I have for this video. I hope you found it helpful. Hopefully I wasn't too confusing in the way that I was explaining it. It's really hard to break down, and I just thought this was a good thing to share with the community, and I hope you guys can find this helpful. I do have that list is posted up on my Discord, so make sure you join the Discord if you want to have access to it. You don't even have to stay in there if you don't want to. Just go in there and you can download it, and then you can keep it. But I will update it as soon as I know more heroes, but you can definitely use this list to your advantage. But anyways, guys, that's all I have. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep digging.